Your name and age, if you please.
I'm Vera, Hille, and I'm 87 years old. And
you were born in Elmore?
And I was born in Elmore, Ohio, out on the farm, 2 miles east of Elmore. And then after I got married, we lived in a couple different houses in Elmore.
Sure.
And then we built the one we have at 720 Rice Street.
And your maiden name was, before we get too far?
Vera Schaff. And
how did the building on Rice Street go? Can you tell us a little bit about going through
we built that in 1958.
Okay.
Earl and I got married in 1945. And he was in the service up until then. And
did you go to school together?
no,
No.
Earl was from Greytown, Ohio.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he went to a carver school. Then he went into the service, and I went with him my senior year, off and on. And then we got married when he was on a furlough. July 1945.
And is there anything you want to tell us about going to school here in town? Some memories that you have that stand out?
Well, I really faithfully kept those pictures every year and thought that I would be doing something by giving them to the library, because nobody up until just about 2 years ago had given anything. So I hope that you have them here. And I don't know. What do you want me to tell?
Let's see. Do you want to tell us anything about the businesses that were in town when you were young people, or events that were held in town? Something that was done just for fun?
Mm-hmm. Well, Saturday nights was a big time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody came uptown, and I can remember Henry House had a business that everybody wanted to go in there because you'd get a ticket, and then at 9 o'clock he'd draw different names, and if you drew your name, you got a prize. You got a dish or something, and of course that was always a lot of fun. So I don't know.
And I understand that you took piano lessons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Lucille Tang and Miss Pratt. But I never turned out to be too good of a piano player. I just took in the summer.
Did you take other instruments later in school, or just stayed with the piano?
No, we didn't. We had an orchestra, but not too many were in it because we couldn't get there to practice, and you know, it wasn't like it is now.
Did you ever work anywhere in town?
The multiplex.
I don't know of that. Can you explain to me
The
what that...
multiplex was on Fremont Street, where the ice cream store is now.
Okay.
And I worked with my boss really was Mr. Johnson, and his boss was Frank Menzer.
Mm-hmm.
And
what kind of business was it?
It was the cement
Mixing?
mixing
Yeah.
business.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And it was quite a, as far as the girls, let me see, there was Betty Lorbach worked there when I did, and Mabel Avers was her name then, and then later on, Faye Deidemeyer, she married a Deidemeyer. It was, gosh, what was her maiden name? Faye, in Donna Hasselkuss, she married a Detman. And
How about favorite people, either in Elmore or as teachers?
well, you've got books that tell all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, would you like to tell some family stories, or would you like to talk about the strawberry farm?
Well, that's what I thought you'd talk about today.
Sure.
I didn't know how you had this planned, this interview, but I had all these, I had written down all these names of these people
Ah,
that had worked for me. All these have worked for me, so.
okay. And I assume all this is going to be available within the library?
Well,
Jen says yes, it will be.
if you want it, yeah.
Yeah. She's going to work with the book and the list from what you've supplied.
And as far as the strawberries, Earl put out 1 acre, or 2 acres, the year before he retired from Libby's Ford. And just to see how it would go for the people, with the people picking, and my land by 11 o'clock, we had them all picked. 2 acres. People were lined up all over the road. I couldn't believe it. And so the next year he put out 4 more, 6 acres. And we just kept going like that from year to year. But these 2 girls here were our first strawberry girls. And they were twins.
Janice and Janet Avers.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get this.
When did you start your strawberry business?
The year?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, what was it? Yeah, you got me. Oh, yeah, it was in the early 70s.
Okay.
I think 70. Doesn't say so here, does it? Oh,
Well, early 70s gives us a general idea.
Where was the farm at?
pardon?
Where was the farm?
Oh, the farm is 2 miles east of Elmore. And, of course, the building's still there. And,
Was that the same property where you grew up?
yes.
Okay, okay.
And all this information is about our farm is in the Ottawa County book here,
Okay.
telling about our farm years ago. And then, of course, when my uncle died, we bought 1 farm, and it was 2 farms, really. And then when my dad died, we bought the other farm. So then pretty soon we had to knock down all the buildings, and then we built that Butler building out there now, which is still there. And that was the where we took care of everything, like the bakery, and we'd send these out each year, these letters, so people knew where they were.
Yeah, I can see it includes a map.
Yeah. And this is Earl, and of course all of the strawberries we had. And each year we'd send out a flyer, and then we donate, like Lutheran Home of Mercy or different places like that wanted them. And then each year we had a different pamphlet for them to pick up with the recipes.
Let me scan that one in front of the camera so they can see your brochure.
Well, I don't think that one was.
No? Oops.
What could people do at the farm besides pick their own strawberry?
Well, we usually had acreage that would save about 30 acres, so we could rotate within that. And the other part of the farm, of course, went to corn and beans. And
What did the people do when they were picking their strawberries? Was there, you said you had a little store there too, and,
well, that's what we had in that Butler building.
okay.
They'd have a scale there and they'd come and weigh them. But see, what they did is they came, we'd give them all this, where's that one picture here? We'd give them those carriers, then they'd go out and they had a container to put in there. So then that's how they carried them, see? And then when they came in the building, then they put that cardboard container on top of the scales and weigh them. And that's what they paid for then. So that was the easy way to do it.
What did your strawberry girls do?
Well, they would show them where to go, what rows to pick. And some of them would be inside, helping them. And then we had quarts to buy too,
Already picked.
and the labor would pick those. We always had Mexican labor. And they'd pick those in so much a quart. And then that's where a lot of people come and just buy oodles of them. Yeah, we had 25 years of good, or 20 years, I think, of really good picking. But then as the California strawberries came in for all year round, that kind of was we had to cope with all that. As it was, the people enjoyed our strawberry flavor so much better. But I think now they're coming up pretty good, the California ones. So that's about all I can tell you.
And the last year that you had the strawberries, about
I think it was 95.
95?
Here's 91. And every year I'd have about 19 girls.
And is this your ledger, sales ledger?
And this is probably what, I don't know exactly here. Anyhow, they would, they'd come at different times and help. And we got pictures. I've got a lot of pictures.
Is there anything you want us to include here, or a story you have about one of the pictures?
Well, here's two of my grandchildren when we first started, and here's the first building.
Okay.
Oh, there.
In the background there is the first building. And the little ones up front.
What were your grandchildren's names in these pictures?
What was
The
my-
grandchildren's
Which
names.
grandchildren are those?
Yeah.
What are their names?
Sarah and Janelle Hille at that time.
So they're grown.
Yeah, they have their own families now. But it's Sarah, let me see. Sarah Popejoy is her name now. And Janelle's name is Aldridge. I don't know, this is the way it used to look, kind of.
I see you had pumpkins too.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Nice field.
And that's my grandson.
And your grandson's name?
That's later years.
Mm-hmm.
I think it says so on the back. I think.
Yes, it does. Brandon, 1.5 years old. 1988.
Uh-huh. I think this was 1978.
Okay. The first grandchildren was
Yeah.
possibly 78.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Here's how we had pumpkins too.
Was there somebody in your family that was a horse jockey or
No.
no, it wasn't. That's the wrong Hille.
Well, Gordon had a horse, but just for fun, you know.
Well, he was at the Toledo speed racetrack, wasn't he? Or did he just have a horse and have someone race it?
Gee, I don't remember too much about all that.
Can you tell us anything about these photos? It looks like it's a party or some
Yeah.
kind of...
Well, see, some of our Mexicans lived out of benches.
Okay.
That's their labor camp. And so they invited us
Okay.
to come that day, and they wanted us to celebrate with them, so that's what it was.
They had their own food.
Yeah, benches labor camp.
Well, that's interesting.
But they lived out there, and then they worked for us too. And here's a picture of Calvin Dam Shooter picking over. Then every year we'd go to a different place and have attend the strawberry seminars. And
For growers?
yeah, the growers
Sure.
would. And one year it was at Niagara Falls, so that's why I had the pictures in here. And we'd go all over Florida, and every year they'd have a different place. It was kind of fun doing all that. Here's a picture of most of them. It's all in black and white.
I'll see if I can get them one at a time. Is someone still farming your property?
Oh,
Yeah.
my son
Mm-hmm.
bought it, bought most of the acreage. Here's how, we used to have those little buildings all over so they could come and weigh them, see, weigh the strawberries.
Oops.
Then one year, we decided we'd grow cauliflower. So here's what we did. We grew cauliflower that one year down in our river bottom. And they said that was the best cauliflower they
so
thought they
sorry.
ever tasted. Oh, gee.
Strawberry cauliflower.
And then the coons got half the crop, though. Oh, gee. Yeah, we tried a little everything on our farm. We had tomatoes, too. We had sugar beets one year. Pickles one year. About 10 pickles. So, that's about it.
Sheep
I got most of that.
with the blizzard.
Oh, yes. There, I did skip over one of the things that we wanted to ask you about. How was your blizzard of 78? Did it affect you in any really adverse ways?
Blizzard. Yeah, really, they had, every year they'd cover them up with straw the best they could.
You were in town, though. Did you have any difficulty getting anything
Well,
locally?
yeah, our electricity went out, I remember, and Earl was working at LeBion's and had a time getting. I don't think he even went in that day. He didn't even go in that day. He was on shift work, though, so maybe that's why. But I do remember across where I lived, where the apartments were, I could barely see the apartments.
I bet.
I mean, the door
Yeah.
that came way up. The blizzard was really something.
And do you recall the Elmore homecomings? Is there anything that
Oh,
you
yeah.
can describe for those for us? Because
Well,
we missed them.
Yeah, I know it. Well, I'd always decorate the bicycles for the kids to ride, and they would take part in them. Gordon and David. Paul rode his bicycle one year.
So they had a parade?
Yeah, very nice parade.
Big picnic? Or...
Afterward,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I don't remember exactly what happened. We were usually go to some event like that, and then we'd be out in the farm.
Yeah.
Our interest was out in the farm mostly, so something going on there that we had to do. So,
Is there anything else that comes to mind about town or about your family?
well, I got it all written down at home.
You were telling me that one of your was it your aunt's or grandmother's house or barn burned back in
Yeah.
the day?
Well, that's what happened to the Schaffs when they came. But I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
go
please,
into all
please.
Well, yeah, we like the
that.
scandal.
When my grandmother was 16, she came over. She was like an orphan, you know, she lost her folks. And her two brothers were here in Elmore. So she decided to come to the United States. She came from Rotenburg, Germany. And then I think at that time her brothers were living in Cleveland. And then 2 years later, they came to Elmore, and she came along with them then. And the one had started a hardware here. It was Wolf Hardware. And he made out so good. Then years later, he went to East Side and built a great big house and had a store there in East Side. His name was Martin Wolf. And then after she was here about 2 years, then she married my grandfather, whose name was Louis Schaff. And he came from Cleveland too. They were kind of, they always would come to Cleveland first, and Parma, and their families, it seemed. Then they come here. And the grandfather helped the great-grandfather helped my grandfather finance the farm out here. And that's how they started. And then yes, after they got, I think their oldest child was probably 16. They had a fire, and I remember grandmother telling that she went in the kitchen, and the whole thing was ablaze. So she went out in the front yard and she yelled, "Fire, fire!" My grandfather was cutting wood in the woods, and then, of course, who could hear it, you know? I don't know how they'd ever get a hold of the fire engine. But then along came the man that owned the basket factory here, Otto Kilmer. And I think he went back to town then and told them about the fire. But it was a March wind, and it was blowing so hard that I think by the time the fire people came, it had gone over to the neighbors where Gieslers live, Elton Giesler lived, and Albert and all those. And it burned their house down too. So we had 2 houses right in a row burned down. So those houses both kind of look alike, you know, if you go past now. And they had to spend their time in the old barn. And then we had a good neighbor where the brick house is now on our farm. And they took them in, I think, until they could build a little garage too. And then that summer they built the house. But that's where they lived, in that little garage all summer. And then they built the house now. So that was the story I was told.
Yeah, that's a good story, though. That's an important one to document.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know anything else too much.
What you've given us is very
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.